Okay guys, so let me show you something. So what I've done here, you might be thinking that is the high poly axe there, but actually if you click on it, that is actually my low poly axe. So I've managed to bake the textures from the high poly axe and apply it to my low poly. So you can see all that. I mean, there's some awkward shadows on there a little bit, which could be improved, but the workflow has worked pretty well. So I've got all the kind of nice detail and stonework on there, and I've got the wood grain texture, which I'm going to be improving even further when it comes to Photoshop. But you can see I have texture baked it pretty nicely. So that is only 998 tries in Unity. So it's a really low poly axe, but looks nice and detailed and high poly. So how did I get to this point? Well, a few things we need to do. Okay, so if I just undo how I got to there. A few times. And what we're going to do is, I'll tell you what I'll do is I'll just delete the shader. So if I just go to Hypershade, and this is the Lambert that it's applied to it. If I just put the normal Lambert back on it, and it's got that texture. Let's just put select my low poly axe and apply. Yeah, so we're back to what it looked like, or might look like for you. And tell you what I might do this time is just take off harden the ears. No, maybe not. I'll leave that on for now. Okay, so I've got my high poly axe on its own layer, okay, and I've got my low poly axe on its own layer, and they're both sort of floating on top of each other. That's really important that you do that. Now you can see, if I just show you my low poly axe, this is called Poly Surface 97. Now I should probably rename that to low poly axe, and then on my high poly axe, this is called Poly Surface 94. Let's call this high poly axe. It's just going to help us in a sec. Now what you need to do is come up to this menu here, and you're going to go to rendering. Now you're going to go to lighting and shading, and baking transfer maps. So you click transfer maps, you're going to get a few objects here. So let's just remove everything and just reset these settings. Okay, so what I need to do for the target mesh, that's the thing that is your low poly. So that's the mesh that's going to be you're going to apply it to. So let's just select our low poly axe and add selected. So you can see, because I renamed it low poly axe shape, it's there. Okay, now source mesh, that is the mesh that you're stealing the normals from. So let's select this and do add selected. So that's a high poly axe, and we want a normal map from this. So we're baking the normals. So did I click that? Yeah, there you go, hit the normals. Right, now first thing we need to change is this bit. So the normal map, I'm going to save this in source images, and we're going to call this sampled normals. I'll call it sampled normals 2 just because I already tried this. So sample normals 2, hit save, which sample normals is fun for you. And the thing that you want to change or make sure that it's selected is tangent space. It should be selected by default. Okay, so this bit, what it's going to do is instantly create a material and attach it to our low poly axe for us. So it's going to make a new shader and attach it, which is good. And then next section, my common output, we want to change this to a high resolution. So let's do 1024 by 1024. And sampling quality, ooh, you know what, I'm going to live dangerously. Let's see what 2048 is like. Sampling quality, medium. Shall I be risky and go for high? Medium is fine, but I'm going to live dangerously and go for high. Okay, so that should be enough. So I've changed the file format, applied it, I've changed the resolution, and I've changed the sampling quality. Last thing we need to do is choose how it captures those normals. Now if you do envelope on here and just make this visible, what you see this pink blurriness. You need to make this a little bit larger. So what this is actually doing, it's almost like, I don't know if you've had a brace, but when you bite into the kind of gunk that they stick around your teeth to make a retainer cap, it's a similar kind of thing. We need to kind of have a pink like putty around all of the axe and make sure that it's all here. You see I can still see some grey here, so I might need to bring this up 2.9, a little bit more, 3, still seeing some, 3.2, and this is why we try and get the low poly and the high poly as close as possible. So when I built my my low poly mesh, I might need to do a little bit of tweaking to make sure that it matches it properly. And you will find that you might have to go backwards and forwards a little bit to get this spot on. That should be enough. Looks like it's okay. This might be an issue here, but it looks about alright to me, so let's just see. Okay, right, this is either going to work or it's going to kill my computer because I've chosen really high settings, but we're going to do bake and close. So if you hit bake and close, and down here on the left you can see it starts sampling surfaces. Now it can take a bit of time, and because I've picked high quality I might have shot myself in the foot completely here, so I'm going to give it a sec to see how long it's going to take, and if it's going to take ages, I'll meet you in the next video. Or shall I do escape to cancel, or will that kill Maya? Who knows? So I'll go for it. Let's do medium, 1024, bake and close. There you go, you can see the difference in speed. I'm intrigued though. I think next time I'm going to have a go at really high, amazing resolution and see what it looks like. But if you hit bake and close, it's going to bake the textures and then it's going to apply it to our low poly axe. We've got our UV map, and so the next stage after all of this is to do some more advanced texturing in Photoshop. So using some of the basic texturing techniques that I've shown you, such as using layering in Photoshop, like in the barrel tutorial I showed you, and we're going to merge this all together with our normals and create a really special looking axe. So let's just hide the high poly. There you go, and you can see that's my low poly axe, but it's got all that nice detail. So you can see, maybe if I bring the quality up I won't have this sort of nasty shadow, and that also might disappear when I start moving into Photoshop and building in the textures on top of this. Not quite happy with this bit, it's a bit messy. but it will do for now. Okay, cool. So in the next video, I'm going to take this into Photoshop, and I'm going to be using the UV map to make a really cool looking textured axe. So I'll see you there.